All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a topic that's been causing some serious waves in the music industry. We're talking about master recordings.
Oh yeah, these aren't just your average audio files.
Definitely not.
They're like the DNA of your music.
Exactly. And we've seen artists like Kanye West, Taylor Swift, even Beyoncé fighting hard to own theirs. So, what's the big deal? Why are these master recordings so important for a musician's career, both artistically and financially?
Well, think of it this way. A master recording is the final, definitive version of a song or an album.
It's the gold standard.
Yeah, it's the source of everything else.
Every stream, every download.
Exactly. So owning that master, it gives you the power to decide how your music is used, how it's shared with the world.
You're in control.
You get to decide how it's distributed, how it's licensed, and of course, how it makes money.
So it's about control. It's about freedom. But I know there's another piece of this puzzle, publishing rights. Where do those fit in?
Yes. While master rights are all about the recording itself, publishing rights cover the composition, the melody, the lyrics, the arrangement.
Our listeners are pretty smart. They probably already know the cake analogy. Owning the recipe versus owning the cake.
Right. But let's go a little deeper here.
Let's get into some real-world scenarios.
Okay. Imagine you write a song with someone else.
A collaboration.
Yeah, you'd probably split the publishing rights. You both get a share of the money made from that composition.
Makes sense.
But then, let's say you also recorded that song, and you own the master recording.
So you're getting income from both sides.
Double dipping. Imagine that song gets used in a movie soundtrack. You're earning money from the sync license of the master and the synchronization rights of the composition.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Owning both sets of rights, it just opens up a whole world of income potential.
Okay, so we're talking about control, we're talking about making money. But let's break it down. How do musicians actually make money from these master recordings?
Well, there are several ways. First, you have sales. Think CDs, vinyl records, digital downloads.
Old school and new school.
Right. And then there's Taylor Swift. Remember when she re-recorded her early albums?
Oh, that was a power move.
It was brilliant. By re-recording, she regained control of her masters for those versions.
Wow.
And it really highlights how owning your masters can be such a powerful tool. You can dictate the terms of your career, even years down the line.
So she devalued the old masters and encouraged fans to buy the ones she owned. Amazing.
Exactly. Now, sales are just one piece of the pie. We can't forget about streaming.
Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. It's how everyone listens to music these days.
It's huge. Each stream generates a small royalty.
And those tiny payments add up.
Especially for popular songs. Then there's licensing. You know those songs you hear in commercials or TV shows?
Oh yeah, that's got to be another way to make money.
Big time. It's called licensing. And the owner of that master recording is probably doing pretty well from it.
Okay, so we're talking about selling your music, streaming it, licensing it. It's all about leveraging that ownership to create more revenue streams. But how do artists actually get their hands on these masters in the first place? It's not like you can just buy them at the store, right?
No, not quite. There are two main paths: the traditional record label deal and licensing deals. Each has its own pros and cons. With the traditional label deal, the label typically gives you money up front. They cover recording costs, marketing, distribution, but in exchange, they usually own the masters.
That's what Kanye's been pushing back against. He wants that control.
Exactly. He wants that ownership. And there are definitely benefits to the label's resources and expertise, especially for new artists. But the trade-off is often a loss of control and a smaller cut of the profits. So then there's the second path, licensing deals. With these, the artist keeps ownership of the masters and grants specific rights to a label or a distributor.
So maybe they partner with a label for distribution, but keep the rights to license the music for film or TV.
Right. This gives them more control, potentially more money in the long run, but it also requires a good understanding of licensing agreements and often involves more upfront costs.
Sounds like a lot to consider. We'll dive deeper into licensing deals and how to navigate those agreements after a quick break. Stay with us.
So licensing deals, they sound pretty good for artists who want more control, but I bet those agreements can get kind of complicated.
Oh yeah, they can be tricky for sure.
So what are some key things a musician should know before they sign anything? Like, where do you even start?
Well, the most important thing is to get yourself a good music lawyer.
Someone who knows the ins and outs of these contracts.
Exactly. You need someone who's on your side, someone who understands music law and can really fight for you.
Like a guide through the jungle.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to the actual agreement, you got to make sure everything is spelled out clearly.
Like what rights are being licensed, right?
Yeah, what exactly are you giving them permission to do with your music? Is it for a specific region? Is there a time limit? The more detail, the better. Okay, so be super specific. Makes sense. But what about the money? What should musicians pay attention to there?
Royalty rates, those are key.
That's how much you earn each time your music is used.
Right. And the rates, well, they can vary a lot. It depends on the type of license, the platform, even the country.
So you got to make sure you understand how those rates are calculated, right?
Right.
What percentage you're actually getting.
Absolutely. You're not just giving away your music, you're negotiating a fair return.
And don't be afraid to negotiate.
Yeah, push back a little. Remember, you've got something valuable here. You deserve to be compensated properly.
All of this is good advice, but let's be real. Not every musician has the money for a lawyer or the experience to handle these complex deals. What about independent artists just starting out? What can they do?
Education is key. There's so much information available online. Books, workshops.
Arm yourself with knowledge.
Exactly. And there are some practical things you can do too. Register your copyrights.
That creates a legal record of your ownership.
Right. And document everything. Keep records of your agreements, royalty statements, any emails or letters.
Stay organized.
Exactly. Now, we talked about traditional label deals and licensing deals.
Right, but a lot of artists are going independent these days.
Oh, yeah. Independent music is huge.
So what does this mean for the music industry? Are record labels going extinct?
Well, the industry's changing all the time. And yeah, labels are facing some challenges. Platforms like DistroKid and TuneCore let artists distribute their music worldwide without a label.
So it's shaking things up a bit.
It's giving artists more control, a bigger slice of the pie. But that doesn't mean labels are gone.
They still have a lot to offer, right?
Oh, yeah, especially when it comes to marketing and promotion. A big label, they have the connections, the experience. It can be a big help, especially for breaking into the mainstream.
So maybe it's a transition.
I think so. We're seeing a shift in power, but labels are adapting.
Some are working more collaboratively with artists.
Yeah, offering better deals, more creative control.
It's like they're recognizing that artists are more aware of their rights these days. They're demanding more.
Exactly. So it's not just about who owns the masters. It's about finding a balance.
A way for everyone to succeed. We've talked a lot about the business side of things, but music is about more than just money.
It's art. It's passion.
What advice would you give to musicians trying to navigate this whole landscape?
Yeah.
How do they protect their art and make smart business decisions?
Well, the first thing is to remember why you make music in the first place.
That passion, that creative spark.
Don't let the business side take over.
Yeah, it's like walking a tightrope. You got to be smart about the business, but also stay true to your art.
It really is. It's about remembering why you started making music, the love for it, the need to express yourself. Don't lose sight of that in the chase for ownership or money.
It's so easy to get caught up in all of that. And these days, you can't talk about music without talking about social media.
Oh, absolutely.
It's such a powerful tool for artists, but it can also be a real beast.
It's a double-edged sword, that's for sure. On one hand, it's amazing for connecting with fans, sharing your music, building a following, but it can also be a lot of pressure.
So how do you find that balance? How do you use social media effectively without letting it take over your life?
Well, first, be strategic. Figure out where your audience is, which platforms they use, and focus on those. You don't need to be everywhere.
And don't try to be someone you're not.
Exactly. Authenticity is key. Share your story, your struggles, your successes. People connect with realness.
Be yourself.
And don't be afraid to show some vulnerability. That's how you build real connections.
It's about building a community, not just collecting followers.
Right. Talk to your fans, respond to comments, have conversations, show them that you appreciate them.
It's a two-way street.
And remember, social media is not everything. Don't forget about the real world.
Playing live shows, meeting people face-to-face.
There's nothing like that energy.
So it's about finding a balance between online and offline.
And taking care of yourself in the process.
Mental health is so important, especially in the music industry.
It's easy to burn out. Take breaks. Step away when you need to.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Oh.
All right, so we've talked about a lot today. The definition of master recordings, how they make money, the different ways artists can own them, the changing role of labels, social media. It's a lot to take in, but hopefully it's given everyone listening a better understanding of this whole world of master recordings.
And why it matters so much.
Exactly. So to wrap things up, let me leave you with this. Imagine a world where every musician, no matter how big or small, owns their masters. How would that change the industry? Would it make things fair? Would it lead to more diverse music?
It's an interesting thought. A world where creative control and financial power are the norm.
It's a future worth fighting for. A future where artists are valued for their talent and their business sense.
This deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
It has. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you know about your rights as a musician, the better you'll be able to navigate this industry.
And build the career you want on your own terms.
So keep creating, keep learning, and keep fighting for your artistic freedom, because ultimately the power of music lies in who controls the sound. Thanks for joining us.